Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Four Horsemen Show. And today we are at the fourth episode in Bonds Beyond Borders. I'm Minhaj Fahmi from Bangladesh, your host today, and I'm joined by three of my best friends from three different countries. We have Natasha Mahmood from Pakistan, we have Tahira Sharif from Sri Lanka, and Sagar Sajitra from India. We're four friends who met during the US State Department's Professional Fellows Exchange program, and since then, we have been on a mission to bridge the gaps between our countries. Today, we are tackling a global challenge that affects each and every one of us, climate change. Let's get started. So, Sagar, I want to start with you because I heard that crocodiles were guests in people's homes in last month in Gujarat. Is it true?
Yeah, they actually come to deliver the warnings that if you don't focus on climate change and we lose our habitat, then we'll start to live here in your premises. But parallelly, I also hear that you had a python in your some Misro Chittagong or somewhere like that. So how did that
Yeah.
work out?
Yeah, it was a big one. It came with the flood in the southern region of Bangladesh.
Yeah, but I hear that the Northern Europe will soon have polar bears swimming towards them.
Where would they go? They have lost their homes, thanks to us. Tahira, what do you think is causing the invisible enemy in this world has, which is the climate change?
Well, we all know at the heart of it is the rise in greenhouse gases, contributing to the greenhouse effect. And it's not just us burning fossil fuels that create this. It is also when we use our refrigerators, the air cons, coolants like HFC are also major reasons why. All this leads to what we all know very commonly as global warming, I believe.
Yeah, and adding to that is deforestation. Like we have lost 1.2 million square kilometer in the last 10 years globally. We are cutting down forests for agriculture and urban development, and forest acts as a carbon sink. When trees are removed, obviously carbon dioxide isn't absorbed anywhere, leading to more carbon in the atmosphere, which obviously accelerates climate change.
There's also the issue of industrialization. So more and more we are developing and growing as an economy, and more people are requiring stuffs like simple people also need. So when you are using more and more plastics, that leads to produce it more, and which leads to emission of burning of fossil fuels, emission of different gases.
Absolutely. And El Nino, increasingly
Oh.
severe due to climate change, had caused extreme weather globally as well, with significant impacts. The 2015 to 2016 El Nino was one of the strongest on record, leading to severe droughts in, I think, Africa and South Asia, and the flooding in South America. And I strongly believe in Japan, the 2023 typhoon season saw 11 storms, possibly linked to El Nino, right? This pattern might also affect tectonic activity by altering pressure on the Earth's crust. A theory still under scientific study, but it's still really scary.
It is scary, yeah, and well, you can debate however you like, but I think it's pretty clear that human activities are the root cause of this crisis, and it's not just about the rising temperatures. These activities are also reshaping our climate in more ways than one. Well, let's move on to how these global changes are hitting home for us in South Asia, and we'll begin with Pakistan. Natasha, what's up?
I think in Pakistan, one of the most direct impacts is the rising temperatures we are dealing with. And we have been hit with record-breaking heat waves for the past few years. Temperatures are rising in Karachi, Lahore, and even Skardu, which is the land of K2, which is the second highest mountain in the world, and which is towards the north of Pakistan. And it was crazy hot there this year, and I think it has been continuing since a few years now. Additionally, The rapid melting of glaciers in areas like Gilgit-Baltistan has actually increased the frequency of flash floods and landslides. Pakistan monsoons are getting worse too.
Flooding is a major issue that has been happening in the India. Let me talk about the Kedarnath tragedy that was happening in 2013, then Kerala then in 2018, then Assam in 2020. So when we talk about the mountain regions like Jammu, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, each and every year they are facing so much flooding issues, like landslides is there, and there are facts that in last 10 years, more than 10,000 deaths happened just because of floods, and 5 million plus people has been displaced, and it costs 50 to 70 billions of dollar in terms of infrastructure losses. Just imagine if that 50 to 70 billion dollars had been utilized in terms of development of country, where we could be.
Yeah, absolutely. In Sri Lanka, climate patterns on the other are increasingly extreme and unpredictable as well. Monsoon season now bring regular cyclones, floods, and landslides, while intense heat waves follow, leading to prolonged droughts. Cyclone Burevi and the southwestern floods are notable examples which has happened in the island. These shifts are harming biodiversity, agriculture, and coastal communities in the island. This is also contributing to rising health issues like dengue, waterborne diseases, and the list gets longer every year.
Well, in Bangladesh, we're also feeling this effects through rising sea levels, I'd say. More frequent cyclones and floods. Due to the present rates of local sea level rise, more than 1 million people may be displaced. And also the world's largest mangrove forest, Sundarbans and its ecosystem, which usually protects us from all the major storms and calamities, will also be affected by this rising sea level and salinity that happens due to that. And we can't just ignore how these rising global temperatures caused by greenhouse gases are directly leading to the melting of polar ice caps in the north and south poles. Research shows that we're losing ice at an alarming rate. Approximately 427 billion tons of ice per year over the last decade only. The melting is driving the rise of the sea levels worldwide.
Pakistan faced severe kind of flooding in 2022, and it was really bad. The whole of Balochistan and Sindh was devastated, and even right now it has not been able to recover from the losses. About the sea levels, in the last 10 years alone, global sea levels have risen by about 3.6 millimeters per year, and that is accelerating. That may not sound like much, but over time it's devastating. For island nations like Maldives, Sri Lanka, this means losing landmass as ocean encroaches on the coastal areas.
Oh, exactly. It's not just the island that are at risk in India, but in India, cities like Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, which are major economic hubs, are also at the risk. Just imagine if sea level rises by 2 meter, and half of the Mumbai will be submerged in the water. Just imagine what will effect it will create on the our economy, because Mumbai is our economic hub.
These aren't distant problems. They are happening right now. We are seeing communities lose their homes, livelihoods being destroyed, and resources being stretched thin. For Sri Lanka, we are also looking at losing valuable coastal areas that are crucial for both our tourism and fishing industry as well.
It's the same in Bangladesh, and as we speak, as you all know, we're also hit by a major flood that has been going on here for a few weeks now, and I was also a part of some emergency response team, and it's super depressing seeing people lose everything in their life, all those animals and all those humans lost. I mean, it's just heartbreaking to see once in a while. It keeps happening. So it's clear that the effects of climate change are affecting us directly, and it has been a while that they're hitting South Asia hard. From
Yeah.
extreme weather to rising sea levels, our region, I think, is one of the most vulnerable in the world in terms of the climate change effects.
You are absolutely right, Manhas. Globally, even though South Asia has a lower per capita carbon footprint compared to the West. Let's have a look at the figures. As per the report of World Bank, the CO2 emissions database, USA has 14.6 metric tons, India 1.9 metric tons, Pakistan 0.9 metric tons, Bangladesh, really good, is 0.6 metric tons, and Sri Lanka 1 metric ton, which is also good. Now, if you see the comparison, like the industrialized nations have contributed to climate crisis, and it's us countries who are basically bearing the brunt of it, and I think it's unfair.
I mean, like, I do agree with the narrative the world is one, we all are same. But if we all are same, then we also need to be saved from these effects of climate change that is happening. And people who are contributing to it most, of course, they need to step up more. But also, I think we also have something to do. We can talk about what we can do about it. So let's talk solutions. We have been talking about problems so long that this episode is going to be very depressing. So how our countries, we can start to fight back against the climate change, and what can we do? Ideas, people. Sagar, why don't you start?
So let's start with the reforestation. So let me tell you that India has increased its forest cover by approximately 2.60 million hectares. We are also working towards using more and more renewable energy sources. Like if I say in 2000, in year 2000, we were depending on the renewable energy sources just 1%. And by 2022, we have reached to 25%. What do you think? Where is the world's largest solar plant is situated right now?
China?
Yes.
I would love to say Pakistan, but
Very, very patriotic, Natasha, very patriotic. But sadly for you, it's in India. But you can get credit that it's on the common border between us. It's in Bhadla, Thar Desert, and it has spanned over 14,000 acres with a 2.25 gigawatt capacity. So it is one of the not one of the, it is the largest solar plant in entire world. And we have we have agreed in Paris Agreement that we will increase our renewable energy to 50% of our total annual requirement. And hopefully we will achieve it.
that's really nice to hear, Sagar. And obviously, such efforts are not just affecting one country, but it's actually affecting the whole world. Just to mention, in Pakistan, there was a big push for reforestation during Imran Khan era when he started with the billion tree tsunami. And I have actually seen with my own eyes mountains that were barren are now actually very green. So I have seen those mountains myself. So it was a great initiative. And now they have, started with a 10 billion tree tsunami. So that's an interesting part as well. But again, you know, reforestation is definitely very, very important, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Yes, it helps. We actually need to have more broader changes in urban planning and renewable energy projects, like you have mentioned, Sagar. Pakistan aims to shift to 60% renewable energy and 30% electric vehicles, and it wishes to completely ban coal imports as well as expand nature based solutions by 2030. So let's see how that goes.
And we also have some excellent initiatives, like when Sri Lanka aims to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 30% by 2030 in the Paris Agreement. Others include renewable energy efforts, which promote the use of solar and wind energy, and the National Adaptation Plan, which promotes resilient agricultural systems to climate change impacts, like introducing flood barriers and irrigation systems and so on. So we have all of these initiatives in place which the government has enforced. But I believe that by pursuing these initiatives with integrity and transparency and efficiency, we can make great changes.
That's wonderful to hear. And In here, we are also heavily investing in distributed systems through the world's largest off-grid solar system program, which is called the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Development Project. Since 2003, the Solar Home Systems Program has electrified areas that have been home to over 20 million people across the country. And this project is viewed by experts as an excellent case study for rural electrification. Since we are already on the front lines of climate change and its effects, so adaptation is really critical for us. And good news is there are very few people in the entire world as capable as mobilizing climate finance as Dr. Yunus, who is currently our head of state.
Just the government's responsibility to do this, because as we have discussed that it is not just affecting the country only, it is affecting each and every individual too, in terms of flood and everything. So from my perspective, that each and every person should be working towards reducing their carbon footprint. Like when we say that to use less amount of energy, if you don't require air conditioning, don't use it using a car. Okay, instead of using individual car, use public transportation, so it will also help to reduce carbon footprint. And on a policy level, I think South Asia should be also invest and more focused towards energy efficient infrastructure and industries. So let me tell you one interesting concept that our government is right now working with. It's a carbon neutral village. So in carbon neutral village, that village will not emit any amount of carbon. Like every vehicle would be electric. Every entire energy is just depending on either solar or on wind power. So that's how they are creating small neutral carbon villages. And if that pilot project got success, then it can be implemented to larger cities too. So that's how government should plan.
Interesting, Sagar, and I really hope it works out and it's a sustainable model as well. I think that's what will matter the most. And of course,
True.
like you mentioned, global cooperation is the key. It indeed is the key. And South Asia cannot solve this problem alone. We need the developed nations to step in. They need to help us with the resources for climate adaptation and mitigation of the climate crisis. That's a promise in the Paris Agreement as well, but we need to hold them to it as well.
Yes, absolutely, Natasha. I like the spirit, but at the same time, I would also highlight the point of the regional collaboration within South Asia. So, sharing knowledge, resources, and strategies can really help us better, every one of us, to adapt to these climate challenges because we are stronger when we face this together as a team. And well, that's about what's happening in our countries on a local level, let's say. But since we always try to put some human touch to it with some of our personal experience, so I'll ask you guys in this segment about some stories that have personally affected you due to the climate change, something that happened in your life. We'll start with Natasha.
Due to the heavy rain, flooding in Islamabad, two of my car's engine seized in just one day. And that was just not me. There were a lot of people on the roads just waiting for people to rescue them because there was so much water. But since I've already mentioned that, I would like to add one more personal experience over here. And that was when I was traveling into the mountains. I literally saw with my own bare own eyes a landslide. Literally, there were just rocks falling off the mountains, and we barely survived that landslide because we were like literally passing through it, and had there been a match of timing, we would have been gone along with the landslide. So yeah, that was really scary, and it's definitely one of the impacts of climate change, I would say.
As you mentioned that floating of the car, so it's very normal nowadays in our part of the even state. Each and every monsoon, you can find it. Cars are floating around here and there. But what scared me through my bones was recent experience. Severe rain and landslides had hit the Uttarakhand region, and we are working in the hilly region in one of our projects. And suddenly, all the communication has stopped, and we cannot communicate with our any of the employees. And we were so worried about their situation and the people around it, and it gave me literally a sleepless night. So that was my personal story that actually made me felt shivering that what was happening with them. So yeah,
That's just terrifying, Sagar. I'm glad everyone was okay and safe.
yes,
Well,
yes, everyone
in
was okay and safe.
That's good. Well, in with the experience with in my social work across Sri Lanka, I've seen firsthand how climate change devastates both people and nature. Sri Lankan farmers face losses due to extreme weather, with over 30% of crops at risk from drought and floods. At the same time, the country's elephant population, now estimated at just 6,000, faces shrinking habitats as well. The struggle for survival reflects and mirrors the deep connection between the communities and the environment by just these facts alone, which is, I don't know, it's eye-opening.
That's some terrifying numbers. And in this part of the world, we always see that life is measured by numbers. That's really sad, you know. And since we're talking about
Yeah.
numbers, let me give you one verse. So in 1991, before my birth, so there was a cyclone in Bangladesh, and about 10 million people became homeless for it, and over I think 130K people they died. And cyclones have always been part of our lives, and now they're getting more random and sometimes stronger. A few years ago, my mom's family went, their family home, it went under the river. And also the current flood, I have mentioned about it. Many people are still suffering. And the heat waves are are common in all four our countries that we have talked about. In personally, I'm just too scared to go out in my own city during summer because it feels so bad in the heat. Normally about some very grieving issues today, the causes of climate change and the devastating impacts in our countries and the ways we can fight back. But the most important message here is that this issue affects us all, and there are no borders when it comes to climate change.
Beautifully said, Manhas. There are indeed no borders when it comes to climate change. And whether it's planting trees, reducing our carbon footprints, or pushing for better policies, I think we all have a role to play. It's a global fight, but every small action counts, and we should be doing something about it.
And South Asia is one of the most vulnerable regions, but we are also resilient. We have faced challenges before, and we can overcome this one too, but only if we all work together.
Absolutely. Let's act now rather than waiting for the next disaster. We can take action now by respectfully urging our governments to lead initiatives and policies with efficiency and integrity and collaborate across borders to tackle these challenges together.
Thank you for joining us today on the Four Horsemen Show, Bonds Beyond Borders. We hope this conversation today has inspired you to take action on your part and push for change in your communities. You are also a victim of climate change. No matter where you are placed in this world, please share your thoughts and your stories in the comment section. And we will be back soon with more conversations that bring us closer, no matter the borders that divide us. So until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep working towards a greener, more united, peaceful world. Goodbye.
Bye. Yeah.